one of the most beloved characters in SG-1 and Atlantis, for that matter, were the Asgard, and Thor specifically. His redesign, the version that we really see to the end of the show in terms of that specific aesthetic and look, was in Revelations, and from his steel frame, which I imagine he had on the, I sold the prop years later, that he had on the inside, to that silicone on the outside and the veins and everything underneath. What goes into creating a character like him? Not only the character itself, but then the poles and the attachments and everything else that make him move. And then the radio controls for the face.
Yeah, they're really complicated. I mean, that comes from a really talented team. We have really good sculptors and mold makers and animatronics people on that. So it's really just getting a great team together. People that have had experience making things like this. It was kind of already designed, so we didn't have to necessarily like concept it. And we started with a sculpture and molded it, and then made a core, which is kind of let's just call it the skeleton form, and cast it out of intrinsic silicone, as you noted, and had some really cool armature stuff in there, as rod armature as well as radio controlled features. And I think the neck might have been a linkage. It's been a while. And just delicate work all the way, which is always tricky, because I think that one we probably did in 5 weeks.
Wow.
No, I know, and it's kind of unbelievable. I think back to some of these schedules we've achieved and the work that's come out of it, and it kind of blows your mind sometimes. How did we do that? So, but Thor came together really nicely, and he operated pretty well for a long time. In fact, I don't even know if he ever broke down. It was a silicone skin that was all sealed in, so it would have been a really challenging thing to try to get in there and fix. But yeah, he seemed to be pretty well. He also ended up in a box, like a coffin, and they would just shove him in storage.
Correct.
I always felt bad for him. I was like, okay, great episodes. See you later.
See you later. He had like this place to go. It was for those who don't know, he came with two coffins, quote unquote, of equal size. There were two black boxes, and if you open up the inner lining was like universe planets and everything else. It was kind of outrageous when really you think about it. One housed the puppet and the radio controls and some of the gear, and then the other one was all of the poles and all the accoutrements that kind of went with them. And Morris Chapdelaine talked about at one point, like practically flying with the puppet to some of these conventions in the United States.
Awesome.
And I was like, let's just get the puppet a ticket. He doesn't have to go under the plane. He'll just sit right there with me. It's just
first class.
Absolutely. I have to wonder though, when he does break down, I'm sure you've left your business card with Stargate Productions so that when you design something like that, are you contracted to your team to come in and facilitate every time he's on camera, so that for like insurance purposes and whatever, if something breaks, then you guys can go and take it over? Or is it just like, here are the instructions, here's what you do with him, if something happens, call us and we will figure it out? How does that work? Is there a budget built in for that, for if he breaks down? What's it at play for a character like Thor?
Well, I think it really depends on the production's wishes. We encourage productions to hire our people for set work. So, if there is any issues, they know what's inside that thing and they can, get direct and deal with it. Some productions don't do that. And I usually don't accept things like this, where it's another group that's on set with it, because if things happen, they don't know what was built in there, and
correct.
They could change one thing that can alter another thing. It just causes like snowball effect. So that's pretty tricky. Usually our on-set people for a puppet like that are union puppeteers, like Morris was, and a few others we had on that team. And so they would be contracted directly by production, even though they had, kind of worked out of our studios and had some familiarity with these things. And they would kind of be responsible for Thor, kind of like Thor's entourage in a way. And
right. He has a whole series of people. like
Right.
any high profile actor would.
Well, exactly, and I think that's what kept Thor going for so long. Is that, you know, there wasn't any issues because this team was aware of things that you don't try to do with Thor. I remember one of the directors came up, and I don't know where he found these like Red Baron Snoopy eye goggles, and he takes them up and he puts them on Thor and snaps them on, and we're all like, ah, don't do that.
It's electronics.
Don't fuck with Thor.
Yeah, there's electronics just beneath the surface for his eyebrows and everything else. Yeah.
Oh my God. I didn't know the guy that well at the time. And I kind of went up to him and I said, you really can't do that. And he's like looking at me like, I'm the director, dude. And I'm like, okay.
Whoa.
Right. I mean, he was cool about it, but I mean, it was just kind of like getting to know you kind of thing.
Wow. And yeah. And my first reaction is to laugh at it. And your reaction is you're freaking out. And it's like, you know what, that makes.
That could be 2 weeks of fix there, or 3 weeks, you know, that could really be a bad thing. So, you know, our crew is usually like an army that protects the animatronics. And if they're not there, it's tricky because what do you do? I mean, you know, if they do have a trouble, we don't know what the people they hired did to it.
Yeah.
So it's always a tricky engagement, but that's why we like to have set people there.
Do you, so there's no like warranty on him or anything like that. It's like, we're building him to last. And this is, I'm sure, you know, like, because you have union guys and everything, there are do's and don'ts, like don't snap some, you know, Snoopy aviator goggles on the puppet. That's bad. Don't want to do that.
We've added that to the contract now. Yeah, don't do that. I mean, we've been really fortunate. I mean, a lot of our practical stuff has always been really stout. You know, even on Falling Skies, I think we did a lot of animatronic characters on Falling Skies. Like every single episode seemed to have something. And I think we had one challenge when a motor burnout, literally a motor inside of a skidder head caught fire. And you look over and there's a skidder with black smoke coming out of it. And we're like, you know, so, I mean, motors are going to go. I mean, that's just part of animatronics. We fortunately have really good servo motors these days compared to the old days. But it does happen. You know, I saw it once on Falling Skies. It was like the first burnt motor I'd seen in a long damn time. But that's, again, why you got to have your set people there to be able to do it.
And Stargate was pretty good about that then? No.
Oh, yeah.
No
Stargate was, Stargate was really smooth in that respect. I mean, the team on Stargate, the producing team and the cast and the directors that snapped goggles on things, they were all really great. I mean, we're all still really good friends these days. We still touch base, and you know, it was kind of a really it was a moment in time. It was a lot of fun to be on that show.
Thank you for watching this clip from Dial the Gate. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving us a thumbs up with that like button. It will encourage the algorithm to show this to other Stargate fans. Also, please consider sending this to a fellow Stargate friend. I also want to invite you to subscribe to future episodes right here on YouTube. We are a live show, so changes are likely to happen all the time. And if you plan on joining us live, you'll want to be the first to know. Be sure to visit dialthegate.com for the complete guest schedule so you'll know when to join us and ask your very own questions to our guests. See you on the other side.